Thanks for visiting our channel again. The Beatles' status as a top-tier rock band has endured for quite some time. Their musical contributions to the world are unparalleled, and the love songs they've written are unparalleled as well. However, the unsung female influences on the Beatles who shaped the group as a whole are an often overlooked aspect of the band. Pattie Boyd and Yoko Ono are two of the most well-known women involved in the many conspiracies involving the women who work behind the scenes. For decades, fans have been plagued by worries about their impact on the band and their connection. How were the band members' lives impacted by them? Did they cause the Beatles to break up in the end? Were they envious of one another and end up fighting? The answers to these pressing issues can be better understood if we hone in on their rise to prominence within the band and their role in its demise. First up, we have Pattie Boyd, the much-desired and groundbreaking English model and photographer who shook up the traditional ideal of a British woman during that time. Not only was Pattie a powerful figure in the entertainment and fashion industries, but she was also stunning and confident. George Harrison, lead guitarist for the Beatles, fell head over heels for her irresistible charm the moment they met in 1964, when she was just 19 years old. Even though they were both very focused on their work at the time, they discovered they could inspire and encourage one another in ways that no one else could. Because of this, they became romantically involved, which quickly progressed to a serious relationship, and they decided to tie the knot after only 2 years of dating. They were very comfortable with one another, and their wedding was a lavish, much-publicized event. They were both quite busy with their burgeoning jobs at the time, and they barely had time to spend together. Since Beatlemania had gone global and everyone wanted to witness the Beatles play, George was frequently away on tour with them. Boyd was also in high demand as a model, appearing in shows all around the world and receiving calls from agencies eager to book her. But even though they were apart for a long time, they made the most of their little spare time to spend with one another, which allowed their relationship to flourish. The high profile it garnered quickly became an issue in their marriage. George and Pattie were often the targets of criticism and unfavorable attention due to their dedicated fan bases. So that they could get away from the constant prying eyes in central London, George bought Kinfoss, a private residence in Esher, Surrey, far from the public eye. Not long after that, Pattie moved in, and life was quiet for a little. At the time, Pattie and George had a strong romantic relationship. George frequently looked to Pattie as a source of inspiration for his artistic endeavors, and vice versa. I Need You, If I Needed Someone, and For You Blue are just a few of George's many Beatles songs that express his feelings for Pattie. George and the rest of the Beatles were first introduced to Indian mysticism by Pattie, who also arranged for their travel to India and subsequent performance tour of the nation. While touring with the band, she also had her first experience with LSD, which the couple's dentist had spiked into their drinks. Because of this, she became rather close to the band members and was well liked by them all. However, Pattie's involvement with Eric Clapton soon after her relationship with George ended, leading to the establishment of the infamous rock love triangle. Pattie wed Eric instead of George shortly after they split up. George surprised everyone by not only blessing their marriage, but also displaying his undying devotion to her by attending the ceremony and singing a song. Unfortunately, Yoko Ono was not in the same boat. As the primary figure blamed by both the press and the public for the breakup of the Beatles, Japanese multimedia artist Yoko Ono is universally reviled. The reason behind this is that her connection with John Lennon started when he was still married to Cynthia Lennon, his first wife. Yoko and him met in 1966 at London's Indica Gallery, and despite their differences, they were irresistibly drawn to one another. They quickly began dating while pretending to be interested in each other's art for work. The most bizarre aspect of this is that Yoko had sought out John because Paul McCartney, a member of the Beatles, turned down a song manuscript that Yoko needed to deliver to John Cage. The relationship between the two had gotten off to a rocky start before John became involved with her. Despite initially claiming an interest in art as an excuse, their relationship quickly grew passionate and proceeded to cross numerous boundaries. John frequently had Yoko over to the house he shared with his wife, which irritated Cynthia. When Cynthia asked questions, John would either redirect the conversation or make Yoko appear like a desperate opportunist to protect himself. Nonetheless, he had begun penning songs for her before she even met her, including the Beatles' Julia, which drew inspiration from Yoko. John and Cynthia's separation and subsequent pregnancy were the final straws that caused John to decide to divorce Cynthia. Then, Yoko's world came crashing down when she had a miscarriage. In little time at all, John and Yoko were deeply in love and frequently collaborated on artistic projects. One such endeavor was their appearance in a BBC documentary about the Rolling Stones, in which they were among other musicians included. They took their relationship to the next level by getting married, taking a honeymoon, and clearly showing signs of intense love for one another. But warning signs started popping up quickly. John started the feud when he assigned credit as a co-writer to Paul rather than Yoko when they created songs together for the Beatles. This infuriated her to the point that she became extremely possessive and controlling of John, going so far as to frequently drop by the band's studio sessions to observe them play. Because of this, Yoko's grip was firm, and she refused to budge, even if the rest of the group felt her presence annoying and unnecessary. Additionally, Yoko's attempts to dictate the band's artistic trajectory were among the last straws. Paul was already hostile toward Yoko before she became involved, and his anger only grew. Not long after, he and John, who were both quite unhappy with how things were going, declared their intentions to leave the band. It didn't take long for the Beatles to split up, and Yoko was the clear villain in the eyes of many fans. In spite of her complexity, Yoko deserved a lot of bad press and public hatred because of this. She was portrayed as a villain despite the fact that she had a beneficial impact on the band's music through her songwriting and the singles she inspired. Yoko Ono's jealousy of Pattie Boyd arose from it. Pattie was well-liked by fans and fellow Beatles members alike, even though she and George Harrison were both married to members and had musical contributions to the band's music. In the end, Yoko was held responsible for everything that went wrong, even though Pattie had cheated on her husband and been engaged with another artist, and Yoko had been overly faithful and possessive throughout the relationship. While Yoko's presence was stifling and caused tension among the members, even making her husband furious on many occasions, Pattie was well-respected and appreciated by the group whenever she stopped by. The members' open disdain for Yoko only served to deepen the trauma. When she showed up to meetings, they would leave, and they would get irate when she used John as a reason to join conversations. Because of her ethnic background, I found it much simpler to detest her, which did not help matters. Consequently, Yoko felt bitter and jealous of Pattie because Pattie ended up eating the cake and Yoko received nothing, not even the frosting. The Beatles owed a great debt of gratitude to both of these remarkable women, who served as musical inspirations. We would have missed out on a lot of classics if they hadn't met their partners and members at the exact right time, and it's fascinating to think about what would have happened otherwise. Whether you love them or despise them, there's no denying that the band would have been drastically different without them. In light of this schism, what are your thoughts on the matter? Who are you rooting for, Pattie Boyd or Yoko Ono? Let us know in the space provided.